My mother-in-law is a complete nightmare, so I can't produce breast milk. I have a baby, I feed her formula. Oh no, this is the worst, biggest disaster in the world, according to my mother-in-law, and now she's going to do this? I've had possibly the worst week in a very long time. I've just gone back to work after giving birth 6 months ago. The pregnancy was an easy one, but we did face problems after I gave birth. There were complications when I gave birth. I was only able to breastfeed for a few days, and then my milk dried up. I was told that I was not releasing the hormone called prolactin, which would allow me to produce milk for my baby. We tried hormone treatment, but it didn't work, so I had no choice but to use an alternate method to feed my baby. He was born strong, but as I produced less and less milk, he cried more every night, which broke my heart. When the doctors told me that I would be unable to breastfeed my child, I just felt like a failure, to be honest with you. I soon got postpartum depression, but luckily my husband was supportive of me. We started to give our daughter infant formula when she was just a few days old. She took it well, too, and it was growing on her every day. We decided not to tell our family, especially his side of the family, because they were incredibly judgmental and tend to make a mountain out of a molehill, especially his mother. When I was pregnant with Ava, she hovered over me nonstop to the point that she moved in for a while. I was unable to have any fun, or even go for a walk around the block without having her constantly monitoring me. But Bruce drew the line when she suggested that she should assist in giving me birth. She did not trust the hospital where I gave birth, even though they were one of the best in the state. My husband told her that no such thing was going to happen. She was not even qualified to help me give birth. Eventually, we got Bruce's brother, Eric, to talk her, out of it, so that she would back off a bit because she was absolutely stressing me out. Imagine being 7 months pregnant and having someone tell you stories about women losing their babies due to being negligent mornings, noons, and nights. We would hear it. Due to my mood swings, I would snap sometimes and tell her what was on my mind, which would increase my blood pressure a lot. And when I gave birth 10 days before my due date, it was after I argued with her. She had just moved out and was nagging me over something so stupid. Needless to say, I have an interesting relationship with my mother-in-law. My husband stays out of it most of the time, which I don't blame him for. I would never ask him to take sides between myself and his mother. I know that I'm not the easiest person to be around, so I will not blame his mom. But she is a meddling Nancy, and one of the reasons I want to move away as soon as things become financially better for my husband and myself is her. When I gave birth and found out that I could not feed the baby, we decided not to tell her because we did not want to worry her. When little Ava was 6 months, I decided to go back to work now. Babies are expensive, and my husband's been supporting this family. Well, for too long by himself. Having 2 incomes will help us start saving early for Ava's future. We got her checked out by the doctor, and he gave me the go-ahead to go back to work. I found a daycare where a trusted friend of ours works, and then I went back to work. It was a very busy week. While I was gone, some things changed at work, and no one let me know. My emotions were all over the place, and I was so close to walking out by the time Friday finally came. Either way, on the weekend, Bruce and I decided to visit his parents. It was while we were there that she started. I forgot that I had not told her that I was now giving Ava a bottle. When I gave Ava her bottle, my mother-in-law gasped and shouted, "What the heck is that? Get it away from my grandchild!" Which startled me. Ava started to cry as soon as she screamed, and then she took another 10 minutes to calm down. Once she was calm, I asked my mother-in-law if she needed help in the kitchen, and then we left. I was boiling hot with anger. Ava had been so close to sleeping. I had been trying to get her to sleep for hours so that I could get some rest, but now my mother-in-law had to start something. I asked her what that was about. She asked me if I wanted to raise a weak child. She told me that infant formula was terrible to give to children. She told me that this was what happened when people ignore advice. I told her that I did not need her advice, and the doctor told me that it was okay to give my daughter formula. So she tells me that I better start breastfeeding her again, otherwise she was not going to turn out very well. So I let her know, hey, that I was back at work and it would be easier if she was on a bottle as I was going to be away for several hours per day. She just mockingly laughed at me and said, "Huh, clearly your mother did not raise you right. You're supposed to breastfeed her until she's at least 3 years old. You're also supposed to stay home until she can talk." As if she cared about my daughter's well-being. When I found out that I was pregnant, she admitted and was very adamant that my daughter was a boy. Even when we got the gender reveal results, she was in denial. Even though she did not say anything to my face, I knew that she would have preferred me to have a son. I guess I should be grateful since she adores my daughter a lot. She's always buying Ava presents and clothes. Ava has so many clothes that some clothes become small before she even gets a chance to wear them. My mother-in-law told me that if people found out that I was starving my child, they would fail to respect me. Yeah, she's the one of those people that care what people think. I really didn't want to do it, but I decided to just let her know that even if I wanted to, I could not produce breast milk. Instead of an inkling, the smallest little bit of sympathy, oh no, she told me it's because I didn't listen to her when I was pregnant and I chose to give birth at a hospital instead of at home. Bear in mind that I spent all week getting terrible feedback at work, and my self-esteem was at an all-time low. Ava's been awake all night with the flu, and even if I wanted to cancel the dinner, she would have made sure that I felt bad about it. Bruce's brother was unable to make it, and his mother was already unhappy, so we didn't want to make her start again. When she was insensitive to me and repeated some of the things I used to think about myself 6 months ago, I absolutely exploded. I told her that Ava was my child. I carried her for 9 months, went into labor for her, and my body was the one that was wrecked. I told her to start a blog if she thought she was good at giving parenting advice, but that she should shut the hell up. Well, she was stunned, and said in a sad voice that she was trying to help. I told her that I didn't need her help, and I was doing just fine. I also told her to mind her own business and get a life. And then that's the point where she burst into tears. I could not help but roll my eyes. Whenever someone calls her out, she starts crying and acting like the victim. I was not in the mood to baby her. I already had a baby, so I left her standing there. I was still fuming when I sat down and Bruce asked me, well, why were we shouting? I told him to ask his dearest mother. His mother came out moments later and she told us that she was going to bed early since she was clearly unwanted. Oh boy, that nerve that she had. I was tired. I was tired of gritting my teeth when all she did was criticize and emotionally manipulate me. I told her that she did not have to leave because I was leaving. I went to take Ava, but Bruce stopped me and told me to explain what exactly happened. I said some hurtful things to him. Then he backed away and let me take Ava. Several minutes after I got home, he sent me a message saying, and I quote, "Hey, I don't appreciate how you spoke to my mother. I know that you're tired, but that's not an excuse. It's unacceptable." Well, it's been hours since my outburst, and I'm still on the edge of my seat. Well, I'm upset. He should be here with me, Not at his mother's house comforting her while she continues with her melodrama. That woman could win an Oscar with how easily she's emotionally manipulating him. Ugh. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Today's story is not your average mother-in-law drama. Oh no. This story is about to get progressively worse. The next update came out 6 months later. Most people in the comment section of part 1 were saying, hey, where the heck's the update? I want to know what's going on with the mother-in-law. It didn't seem like OP was ever going to respond, but here we are, 6 months later, update number 1. To my own annoyance, I did have to apologize to my mother-in-law for what she did. Her son was so mad at me that he gave me the cold shoulder for days. I was ready to wait it out. But when I told my mom what happened, she made me just see that I did cross a line with his mom. Yeah, she's more than annoying, but I didn't have to stoop down to her level. To add to that, we have a child together who needs both of us to get along. So, I had to swallow my pride and apologize to my mother-in-law for what I said. The past few months have been normal. To protect my peace, I decided to stop going to her house. Now that Ava is at least a year old, she can go with her father to visit her grandma. Despite my differences with her grandmother, there's no denying that her grandma loves her. She's been a great help the past few months. I'm talking babysitting Ava on the weekends for us mainly. It's helped us clear time for hobbies and just to get back into our social lives. I decided that I was going to try to stop being so rude to my mother-in-law since she was already doing us such a solid favor. But there's been incidences that's tested my patience. What has really helped me in those situations is no other than medication. For instance, a month ago, she told me that she was not going to allow Ava to continue to use a certain cream that I gave her to treat skin irritation. The reason why was that some women had told my mother-in-law that she used the cream on her son and then was diagnosed with autism. She's become clingy of Ava on the weekend. If I want to take my daughter somewhere, I have to ask her to lend me Ava before Wednesday. Otherwise, she gets really mad. Her son tries to maintain the peace, but I concede most of the time because I don't want to stress him out. I would not call Bruce a mama's boy exactly, but he is very scared of his mother. I know all about his childhood, and I know how hard it is for him to remember that he's a grown man who doesn't answer her sometimes. But I know that he'll get there at some point. I don't want to know how I can break the news to her that my mother wants Ava for a month. I'll be gone for a month on business, so my mother offered to take care of Ava. My mom's place is closer to the hospital and her daycare, and even my husband agreed. But I don't know how to tell her. I know that she'll be very mad at me, and the last thing I want to do is fight with her once again. Mr. Reddito here again with update number 2, and things are about to take a little bit of a turn. You could say a twist. The title for update 2 is, You Will Not Believe What She's Been Doing. Guys, I hope you're enjoying the content today so far. If you're new to the channel, I animate stories and narrate them every single day. If you're into that kind of thing, consider subscribing to the channel. It does help support me a lot, and you'll never miss an update that way. Here you go, update number 2, You Will Not Believe What She's Been Doing. I'm writing this and hoping someone can tell me where to go next, because right now I want to get that woman thrown in jail. What she's done to my daughter has to be illegal. I'm unable to wrap my head around what would possess her to do such a thing. And no, I don't believe her arguments that she was just trying to do what's best for my child. This has been going on for far too long, and believe me when I say I will shut this down. Something with me knew that something was not quite right with the way that she's possessive of my child. I found out what she's been doing by chance, and I'm going to tell her son. I have the proof. I know that after this, he will not want anything to do with her. So, Ava started speaking already. Nothing too big, but she recognizes me and I'm the only one that she calls Mom. Well, when I went to my mother-in-law's house today to fetch Ava, I discovered several things. Sometimes when Ava comes from there, she has a stomach bug. I've spoken to my mother-in-law about it and she told me that it's nothing. But it's not anything. I was supposed to pick Ava up at 3 and drop her by my mom's, but I showed up early at 2 because I was rushing. The door was unlocked, so, I let myself in. I called out for them, but couldn't find them. I went to her room, which was empty, and then I went to the kitchen where I nearly tripped over an empty bottle of pills. I checked the label on the floor, confused to see what pills they were. I was fairly certain that my mother-in-law had already hit menopause. This could not be hers either way. Then I heard laughter in the backyard. I made my way over, only to see my mother-in-law sprawled out on a chair, with my baby cradled in her arms, and she was breastfeeding her. Yeah, I guess she didn't see me approaching. Well, she had a slight smile on her face as she caressed Ava's hair. Coldness traveled through my top of the head to the soles of my feet. I blinked several times, thinking that it was one of those lucid dreams and I was just asleep during the day. And then just as quickly as the shock entered my body, it was replaced by anger. What the hell do you think you're doing? I screamed at her. She looked at me and immediately told me that it was not what I was thinking. I asked her to enlighten me on what I was thinking because what I was thinking was that she was very much dead. I asked if those pills I saw in the kitchen belonged to her, and she said that they were not hers, they belonged to somebody else. Well, I snatched my baby from her despite her protesting, started picking up her clothes and made to leave. There was no need for her to explain because I've seen enough. She is not mentally stable, guys. She deserves to be locked away. How she even thought to get pills that would enable her to produce breast milk is beyond me. The scary part is, somehow it worked, and she's been breastfeeding my child. Before someone comes to her defense to say that she might have been pretending, I saw the pills, and I saw that she has a nursing bra. If I had come much later, I would have been as ignorant as ever while she continued breastfeeding my child. As soon as I left her house, I took my child to the doctor to get her checked out because I was afraid that she would get sick. I wondered how long this has been going on, and what gave her the nerve to breastfeed my child. It's clear that I was right about how she's very obsessed with Ava. I think that she's trying to steal my kid. Why else would she feel the need to breastfeed my child? When I found out that I could not feed my kid, I did look at the option of getting someone else's breast milk. While some people do it and it's not illegal, it was just not an option I wanted. I don't judge anyone who has or is doing it because I know that a mother wants nothing but the best for their child. But it's recommended to use a milk bank as the milk is much healthier than it's from a live donor. I was informed that the person would have to be healthy and not consume any alcohol, narcotics, or over-the-counter medication. Otherwise, it would definitely harm the child. When I went to the doctor and told him what's going on, he told me that he would do a full examination of my daughter. He also said that if my mother-in-law consumed any substances, even over-the-counter medication, that could be very potentially harmful to my kid. So now I'm waiting for the blood test result. I have already postponed my work trip and my daughter's resting. I know that I must tell my husband what his mother did, but what if he doesn't believe me or thinks that I'm overreacting? When it comes to his mother, I try to avoid saying anything because he fears her. She'll probably come up with an excuse for what she did. I know she will claim that it was for the benefit of my baby. Right now, I'm focusing on my kid and making sure that she is alright because I'm very stressed. How do I even begin to tell him about this? What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness, I did not see that coming. This mother-in-law is shaping up to potentially take one of our top 5 spots on the channel for insane toxic mother-in-laws ever. Well, it's not over yet. The next update says, I told him, well, and there was a lot of drama. So it looks like the next update's about to be pretty juicy. Let's jump into it. Update number 3. The amount of drama that's been in our family since I exposed my mother-in-law, oh lord. She obviously tried to spin it in a way that would make her look innocent, but the truth about what she's been doing is darker than what I initially thought. She was not only endangering my child, but has shown that she's obsessed. I've often heard stories of family members that are weird, but I never thought I would be experiencing such a thing. My mother-in-law would not stop blowing up my phone after I caught her. She told me that she had a very reasonable explanation for this and that she was just trying to help. She asked that before I told my husband I should meet her and let her explain. I was not in a position to do her favors after what she did. What I was in the mood for was to get her arrested or something. But she told me that she really did not want to lose her son and that I should give her a chance to explain. I decided to take the high road and give her a chance. I was still waiting on the test results, hoping that nothing was wrong with my child. All weekend, she's been unable to eat or pass stool properly. If I found out that she harmed my daughter in any way, then I was going to absolutely destroy her. I didn't care who she was. I would have time for regrets after I was done with her. So, I agreed to meet with her. We met in a public place as per my request, and to my surprise, she brought my father-in-law with her. He knew about what she was doing, and he wanted me to keep it a secret from my husband. The fact that they wanted to keep it a secret should have been my cue to call my husband immediately. But like the fool, I decided to hear them out. But only because I still respected my father-in-law. So, this is her explanation. Since she's taken care of many kids in her lifetime, she thought that my daughter was going to be underdeveloped because she did not get the breast milk. So, when I started to leave my daughter at her house, she gets the hormone treatment so that she could breastfeed. She swears that Ava instantly became stronger and smarter, even crediting the fact that Ava was very quick to be able to say basic phrases because of her grandmother's milk. I asked my father-in-law if he thought it was normal since he supported her. He told me that of course it's normal. It was normal and that many people in the community did it when a woman could not produce milk. Sometimes it could be a close friend. Sometimes it could be a relative who helped a mother. I asked them why they did not seek my consent before doing it though. And then my father-in-law had the audacity to ask me to name my price just to keep my mouth shut. Well, I told them that no amount of money would make what they did okay. Ava was my child, therefore they needed my consent before doing this. Now they were just offering me hush money because they got caught. She told me that she felt that she did not need to ask for permission since Ava is her grandchild after all. She told me that I would thank her when Ava grew up strong because of the sacrifice she made. I felt like laughing when she mentioned the sacrifice that no one told her to do. I've had enough. I left them sitting there and immediately went to my husband's workplace. There I placed him the recording I took during the meeting. Of course, I was not going to show up to the meeting without a plan. After I allowed him to listen, I filled him in on every single detail. I didn't expect him to start crying and shaking though. I thought that he was going to be very angry and demand that we should get her arrested for what she did. Now my child was in danger because of the reckless choices. He told me, very calmly, "Go back home, look after our child," because he had a lot to think about. So here I am, back at home. I've just spoken to the doctor and he told me tomorrow I should have the test results. so that we may know if my daughter's current illness was caused by the breast milk. Update number 4, she's been telling my daughter to call her Mom. Wow, so it gets a little more twisted. Not only has she been breastfeeding my daughter, but now I'm finding out that she's been making my daughter call her Mom when we aren't there. Bruce is the one who found out from his brother Eric. Apparently weeks ago, Eric was at her house and he walked into my mother-in-law telling Ava to call her Mom. He found it very weird, but he didn't question it. He wanted to tell us, but he didn't want to upset us because he knew that my mother-in-law and I are like oil and water. In addition to breastfeeding, her training Ava to call her mother was so inappropriate. What I knew was I didn't want her anywhere near my child anymore. And my husband finally agreed. So we tell Eric and his wife that we would not be attending the family functions where my in-laws were there. We chose not to say anything in order to keep the peace. But if someone in the family fell pregnant, I would make it my duty to indirectly warn them about her. So, without making too much noise, my husband and I blocked my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, since the test results revealed that my baby was okay. We did not need to see or ever press charges. I hope that she will respect our wishes and just leave us alone. Well guys, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Reddito here, that's not what happened. The mother-in-law simply did not leave them alone. I am here with one final update. The update is titled, "We had to get a restraining order against her." Guys, it took a long time to find all these updates. If you want to support me, the best way is very simple. Just click that subscribe button underneath this video right now. Here is your final update. 1 month later. Hey guys, it's now a month since we cut off contact with Bruce's mother. She's tried to contact us and convince us that we're overreacting, but we've decided to stick to our decision. After we blocked her, she showed up at Bruce's workplace, but he put her in her place. He does not even want to hear her name. He truly hates her guts. He tells me that the only family he has besides myself and Ava is his brother. His brother tried to convince him to make peace with his mom, but he's adamant that she's dead to him. There's nothing that I can do or say to convince him, and there's no need because I feel the exact same way. And what she has recently done has proven to us all that she's not exactly right in her mind. She's exposed herself without my help, and now the whole family does not want to be associated with her. When I cut off ties with her, I forgot to remove her from the list of people allowed to fetch Ava from school. It's been an ongoing tradition for her to fetch Ava on Friday every weekend. It just completely slipped my mind, and I nearly paid for it. A few days ago, I got off work early, so I decided to fetch my daughter from school. I planned to take her to the mall for some shopping early, and then to my mother's house since my mother misses her. When I asked for my child, I was told that somebody fetched her already. I asked who, and I was shown my mother-in-law's signature. I asked them why they would allow someone who was not her parent to get her. The girl who was at reception started to blink and could not seem to come up with a logical explanation. I realized I was getting nowhere with her. So, it was not her fault that she did not know that my crazy mother-in-law's not allowed to fetch Ava even though she's on the list. I asked her how many times Ava's grandmother fetched her, and she told me that her grandma brought a note from me a few times where I gave her permission to spend time with Ava. She always brought Ava back 30 minutes before either my husband or myself fetched her. So I texted my husband just to let him know that, well, what she did and that I was going to wait for her to come back. He let me know that as soon as he got off work, he was going to file an official restraining order against her. I asked to see Ava's teacher, shocked at how she would allow something like this to even happen. She told me that my mother-in-law had been very, very convincing, and since I put her on the list, they thought it was not a problem. I told her that, due to safety reasonings, My mother-in-law was no longer allowed to get my daughter from daycare at all. If it was still taking Ava to my friend's daycare, this would have never happened. But unfortunately, that daycare closed and I had to enroll her here at last minute. I'll take part of the blame for the incident though. I failed to inform them not to allow her anywhere near my daughter. She went too far this time. She was clearly obsessed with my child, and as I sat there, I grew angrier at her. I called my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, telling them what she did. They were livid and offered to help me search for her. I told them that my husband was handling it, but as I was sitting there, I realized that I had been too lenient on her the past few weeks. So then I wrote a long message exposing her and sent it to all the family members I was in contact with. I told them to be careful that she would not try to steal their kids because I was sitting at my child's daycare and she was nowhere to be found with my child. There were several reactions to my message. Some people shocked, angry, afraid, even some in disbelief. I knew that it would only be a matter of time before her neighbors knew. Well, she was going to lose a lot of friends over this, and I was not going to feel sorry for her even in the slightest. She eventually came back. She had no chance to explain before my husband arrived with an official police to arrest her for kidnapping. She got out within just a few hours, but we did manage to get the restraining order against her. She got off lightly, but if she does it again, then she's going to face jail time. The whole family, even Eric and his wife, have decided to cut ties with her. The only person standing by her is the man who enabled her strange behavior from the beginning. Her husband. My husband and I are already looking for jobs far, far away. No matter what, we cannot avoid her in this small town. Seeing her is a serious trigger, and I don't want to see her every time I leave the home. I mean, come on. What would you guys do? So it sucks it had to come down to the restraining order, but let's be honest, guys, I think it was necessary. I mean, what the mother did is so absurd. This mother-in-law, well, she produced her own milk and gave it to a baby that's not hers. That by itself is absolutely mental. So let me know your thoughts, your honest opinions about this story. Drop it down below in the comment section. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe for daily videos, and I'll see you in the next one.